Welcome, and I'm really glad to be here today. And before we get into the presentation, just some housekeeping notes here. The webinar is going to be recorded, so you're all being recorded right now. And we will be sending it out to registrants, so you have that webinar today. During our time together, please do send questions in the chat. I would love to hear what things are ringing for you and connecting with you, as well as where there's questions that you want more clarity. Towards the end, we'll have time also, if we have time, we'll go over those questions. And then, time permitting, we'll ask those questions. So looks like we are getting more people in. It's about half the crowd so far. If there's any technical difficulties, yes, please put it in the chat and we'll make sure to get any problems solved during the time we're together. All right. All right. Scott, are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, great. So today we're going to explore the integration of human insight and design. And AI is essential to improving packaging performance and what that actually looks like in practice. So that's what we'll be going over. We'll talk about behavioral science and how that shapes design decisions, and generative AI and how that plus predictive intelligence accelerates them, and how teams move from inspiration to performance with greater confidence. Okay, but first, let me introduce myself and my guest on this journey. In product development of Studio B, my name is Cheryl Brigg. I'm the SVP, the head of qualitative research here at Behaviorally, and I'm part of the leadership behind the creation of Studio B, along with all these team members. We've all contributed to bring you this great new product and way of thinking about research, insights, and design. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Scott, who is an expert in design thinking. Scott is the former Chief Design Officer of Future Brand North America and managing partner of Chase Design. He is truly the embodiment of design thinking. I've been working with him lately. I am so happy to have you with us. You're just fluent in developing behavioral design principles from the hands-on problem solving for global brands. And I see that experience in just spending the time with you creating this product. So other things to note is that you hold over 300 patents. You've won the IDEA, CES, FE, and Red Dot Awards, so well awarded, and you've lectured globally on innovation and design thinking. So in short, Scott, it's great to have you, and I'm really excited to hear about how you're about moving from concept to impact here, and learning more through even more interactions with you. So again, thank you for joining me.
Sure.
All right. So let's get into, I see we've got more people. Fantastic. Welcome in, everyone. We're going to get started now. So Scott, let's start with you and tell us from your perspective what the pack design process is like from a designer's perspective.
Sure, I'd love to. So my background has been all of holistic design, which includes quite a bit of pack design, and that's both communication side and the structural content of the package as well. Package design is a very invigorating process, and in agency life, projects that the design teams are very excited about. You know, not every project is an exciting project, but pack designs tend to get the design teams, out of bed a little earlier in the morning, and it's usually pretty exciting work. It's very much a team sport. It's very collaborative and multidisciplinary. So don't think of just like insights and research. It's not a designer with a pen in the back room. We have communication designers working on it. Typically, you'll have structural design, industrial design, insights, strategy, Oftentimes you'll have fabrication because you maybe make mock-ups and test out the structures with the communications, how they work together, because they need to work together. That's why the teams need to spend a lot of time together. And at the end, production design. You have to understand how things operate, how you're going to get it produced, make sure that what you're designing works on the equipment that the client has or a third party they're using. So it's a pretty invigorating process. I find that pack design and really all design is kind of akin to the scientific process, which I know sounds a little bit odd, but design is not fine art. It's solving a problem. And scientists solve a problem. They have something of a curiosity that they're trying to figure out. How heavy is the universe? They create a hypothesis. So in design, ours is a design brief. You know, clients want to know, how do I sell one more? How do I get more lift? You know, how do I win over my competitor? Scientists create a hypothesis and designers create stimulus. We create ideas that we think are going to solve the problem and the curiosity that we had that the client gave to us. And then scientists do some math. They figure things out with math and with experiments. We figure things out using folks like Cheryl and research and insights to understand whether our hypotheses work. And then we go back to the drawing board because the first time out the chute, we learn every time we learn, every time we do it, we learn a little bit more until eventually we get to something that we believe solves the problem. So to me, the pack design process, the whole experience all the way through. You have to be great listeners and work with all your stakeholders, and it's a very exciting process.
It is. And from our side too, from the research insights side, it's really invigorating, and using your word back at you there, because we get to see designs come in and then hear what the actual shoppers in real shopping behavior mode and that are our shopper lab here in Teaneck, New Jersey, and also in Chicago. We use these places to understand how people shop. And we get to see the designs come in, and sometimes they do great. Most times, this is an area that we want to test and learn. And it is a learning place, a playground of sorts. And usually that sometimes, if we're lucky, designers get to be in our back rooms, but not all, that doesn't happen all the time, especially now with travel and the way workflows are. It really puts pressure on that collaborative effort. But what's interesting is that technology is actually democratizing this kind of force that is with us all now. So it is changing roles, it is changing workflows and accelerating it, and the lines aren't as clean as they used to be. So with all this technology, and when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about AI. AI is breaking down those traditional silos from design and insight and giving us this opportunity to have a space to leverage. And that's Studio B. We are not replacing designers. We are not replacing insights. What we're doing is we're creating and evolving with these tools. And that's what Studio B is about. And yeah, it's fusing it. AI allows us to integrate these disciplines, and it operationalizes the technology that we have at our fingertips and ignites those insights and generates designs that perform. So, Scott, when you're thinking about AI and the first thoughts when you hear about these capabilities, tell me what you thought.
Well, obviously, AI has been design has been initially experimenting with AI. Like as the engine, as the tools become available, and there's so many different tools that are available to design now. Whether you're an architect or whether you're a package designer or an industrial designer, whether you're making video, it's I think the initial thing was, hey, this is a great new exciting tool. It's just another tool in the tool belt to try to figure things out. Design is at its core a very collaborative process. You need to collaborate with your clients. The clients have many stakeholders. They have, brand, operations, marketing, sales, go down the list of things. You need to collaborate with your shoppers. So understand shoppers' needs and wants, and basically other designers are also stakeholders. And in this case, AI becomes kind of a stakeholder partner in the whole process. So I agree with you. I don't think that AI is intended to take over design. I think it's a great tool. When I was a young designer, a crusty old designer friend of mine was quite interesting. And it's when literally like the first Apple computers were coming out. And obviously, we rushed out and bought a couple for the office. And we were talking about it one day at lunch, and he said to me, I have a piano at home, but I can't play Mozart. And I thought that was really interesting. Just because the tool was on the desk doesn't mean that it has all of the skills. Now, we have very different tools with AI. So AI is getting much closer to playing Mozart now than we were when, 25 years ago. But I think it's a great tool for all of us to leverage and to embrace. And I think you'll see with Studio B how effective it's going to be.
Yes, as far as critical thinking, like about strategy and creative judgment, that's always going to be important. And we are guiding the AI in that. And if we move past the fear of AI taking over, and see it as this powerful tool, we harness that. It's a tool to communicate ideas, and we find this workflow is going to become faster. And that's the opportunity for all of us. And with behaviorally is uniquely positioned for this opportunity right now. We operate at the moment of decision, the exact second a shopper actually makes a choice. So for decades, we've led the world in packaging validation. I've been with this company for 18 years now. It's been around for 50, I'm 55, so 54 years. That's how I keep count. And that all that data, all that packaging data and validation work that we've done in the past comes through in what we have now. So we're able to decode behavior. We measure what the shoppers see, how they process, and what drives selection and what actually gets ignored. Our work is grounded in behavioral science and this predictive intelligence. And you see these stats here coming up. We've worked with major clients, and we've built these tools, these models, and the expertise to deliver those insights consistently and globally and at scale. So just to show off a little bit, and then we'll get into Studio B. We work with 19 out of the top 20 CPG brands. They partner with us, and we've validated over 63,000 packs. We've built a visual database of 230,000 assets and have captured more than 520 million real shopper behaviors. So this is all based on real shopper behavior, not it's all watching how people shop and documenting that. And the backbone behind all of this, our framework that solidifies that behavioral science is simplified here with our 4S framework. Be seen, did the consumer see it? Be shoppable, did they find what they wanted when they were looking through the different variants? Be seductive. So that's my favorite part because I'm in qual, is understanding that resonance too, not just watching those behaviors and documenting and making sure that we're doing all the be seen and be shoppable stuff. But seductive is very important. It happens so quickly when shoppers make a purchase. They're not really deciding, they're not consciously checking boxes, this, and this. It's very habitual, and we need to speak to them in a very quick but seductive manner. So that resonance, when we see that in insights happen and that connection, it's what we all work for when that immediate connection happens at shelf. And of course, finally, did we do all the things before? Did the shopper actually put it in their cart and get selected? So these 4 S's are the backbone of everything we do, and it is infused in our scores and in our discussion guides and in our AI. And then finally, we'll see our behaviorally design levers that were created, and with Scott's help here, to help impact the performance of design. And we know that creating designs, oof, it's difficult. And developing high performing packaging is time consuming and very expensive. And most designs we see fall in the middle of this bell curve. I'm showing you right now this chart. This chart is from our PackPower Score, and just an example of showing where you might fall with this one number score on this bell curve. And just to show you that we can tell that if you're falling at one quintile or another, as you move up a quintile, you move the needle, and that has an impact on actual sales performance. So this is a one number score that we've been using for quite a while now, and we use that to help gauge the success and impact of package design. Tell me, Scott, from your perspective, what does it take to move the needle in the past? What have you seen?
So pack design, you said it very well. It's hard work. Doesn't look on the outside like it's that hard, but it's very nuanced work. We find that, let me quickly, and I don't want to take too much time because there's a lot to get through here, but take you down a little bit of a journey. You showed a bell curve of the quintiles. Design, the process of pack design is a little bit of a bell curve of emotions. So design teams start out with enthusiasm. It's a fun project. We have a new client possibly, or an existing client that you enjoy working with. And the design teams, we always encourage everybody to get out in the stores, look like, pretend you're a shopper, see what they're shopping, understand, go to different channels, go to different outlets. Designers, we also encourage, get out of the category, go look at other categories. How have other people solved the problem? What other influences are out there to give you inspiration? The team gets all excited. They start creating and they start sharing their designs back and forth, which I think really good design, again, is very collaborative. And they get excited from others' design, and then they work late and everybody's posting their work, or back in the office, we're printing everything out. Presentation to the client goes, first one typically goes great. Then you get the feedback. And that's when the bell curve starts to come the other way, right? So now you get the feedback, and the first feedback, as always, is, well, can you make the brand bigger? And remember, we have three languages to deal with, and operations isn't going to like to make it that way, and that's going to cost 3 cents too much. So the bell curve starts to come down in design, and then you go into research, and then you listen to shoppers say, well, I don't understand this, and that doesn't make sense to me, and I just want my old pack. And so it's quite an emotional bell curve journey. At the end of the day, it is hard work, and we always look and find ways to make it successful. But you have to be great listeners. You've got to really pay. I think great design and insights in particular both have to be great listeners to the nuance. And sometimes it's not the words people are saying, it's reading body language, it's understanding things a little bit differently. So it's uh, it's fun and invigorating, but you have to have some pretty thick skin.
I, yes, it's hard for me as a moderator when I walk into that back room after things don't go so well. But it's not that it's not going so well. So I want to just pull back there. Like, getting feedback is always great, because you can make things better, which is fantastic. It's opportunity. But it's you've got to have a thick skin. So I really have a tremendous respect to to having to the designers having to sit and hear that feedback about things that they've poured their hard work in and time and energy. But again, uh, capturing that and using that feedback and making it the goal to intentionally move up this curve. And that's a very disciplined. And it's not, again, like you said, it's not just about making this a pretty picture or something that looks great. It's something that has to perform. It has to work against the competitors. It has to work in each category or in the category it is in each different channel that it lives in. So this is difficult work. And our approach at Studio B is operationalizing the AI and getting that feedback back and then generating ideas. So we're going to take that human insight. We're going to be able to, with AI, using generative AI, generate designs to get us to a better place quicker on this journey. And then using our predictive AI tool here at Behaviorally, we get to check in and see how is this working or not working, and where we need to make pull up or down on the levers of design. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but we'll get into all of this in the approach and in our in Studio B's, where we humanize, and then we design, and then we predict. So each of these are the ingredients to more effective packaging design. And here's our approach. So first, we will um, humanize the findings with and gather insights from actual people doing retail simulation interviews, and we will do social review mining and layer in semiotics, so visiting the stores like you mentioned, and pulling together all that information and then generate design concepts using our behaviorally design levers, and then our prediction engine at the end to help understand where we can even improve more, and then maybe go back to design and iterate at that point to improve and move up that curve. And this is all happening at the very start of the design process. So before you even can get to a design agency, you could be doing all this work. So imagine you have this information and you can arm your designers with preliminary stuff that scores your stuff at a 50. So if you're starting at a 50, you can move up even higher. And that's what Studio B is engineered for, that performance, to get us to performance and keep us disciplined using those levers to get us there.
Carol, what I think is interesting about that is clients sometimes spend eternity trying to write a brief because they got to go to all the stakeholders and all the stakeholders add in their parts. And at the end of the day, you have a 7-page brief, which is really difficult for design. What design really needs is a 1-page brief that's more visual than words, because designers tend to think with visuals and the visual will be very meaningful. So the idea of taking what Studio B is doing and integrating thought starter visuals that have already a lot of grounding in what shoppers already think through the engine is, I think that's a huge start for design to get going.
Yeah, and that's what we want for design agencies and for our clients, is to start in a better place so you can get even further and quicker. So let's go through what we're going to do that. So let's dig in here. With Humanize, we begin with real shoppers in real context, and we'll observe what they do and listen to what they say and understand how they make those decisions. We'll also do mining, and we'll mine online reviews and social posts for more depth. We'll layer in the semiotics of the category, so understanding what's happening in the category, what's the visual language of the category, what are the cues that are common, so we know how to balance that uniqueness. And, you don't want to I'm going to tell a story. We use mobile eye tracking here. So I was working once on a project for body lotion. And we put the glasses on, and this design, it was a phenomenal design idea, which was in the body lotion category, you have all white bottles, just covered in white. And this particular product came in, it was white and then changed to a black bottle. And if it's about and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to stand out. We're going to have that visibility, because we know if you're unseen, you're unsold. So I'm like, in a white category, yes, black packaging. This is fantastic. Let's see what happens. So yeah, the black packaging wasn't clinical. It definitely came across from the seductive side as being actually very luxurious and sensual to have a black lotion bottle in a white category. So yes, it was different, but did it get seen? Well, it has the contrast. I have these things that, a visual contrast that's going to create that tension. But because it was so far out of the category norms, we watched over and over again how the eye tracking just showed boop and over, boop and right, and it was right in the center. And it was just a big black hole right in the center of the category. So it never got seen. So balancing those category cues are really important to make sure that you don't get deselected by a person in shopping mode when their system one is at work and they're just trying to find something. And when they're on that finding mission, they really are closing their eyes to things that are happening. It's a very focused moment, and we get to intentional blindness or perceptual blindness is a cognitive bias that we see. So, yes, you have to see the category. You have to see the category codes. We also, in this humanized moment, will also do your current pack. So we'll understand from the shopper perspective, what they think about the brand, what they think about the packaging, what are those assets that we have, and what cues recognition, and what we have to hold on to, and then where we can maybe have some leeway and things that we can sunset and don't have to bring in to cue recognition. So we'll see that current pack. And then we also will run diagnostics on it using our that predictive tool agent to see where we are today. So what does the current pack do as far as on our PackPower score? Where is it on that bell curve? So understanding the baseline there. So, what does that look like? And you mentioned, Scott, before that one-page visualized document. You'll get that. You'll also get our report with slides, but that first page, that one pager that you disseminate amongst your teams and gets everybody aligned on where we are today, that is this identity map that we'll be creating from the humanized portion of the research. So this takes the pack insights and summarizes the people, the patterns, the problems, and the possibilities here. So you get the human profile, so the user and the opportunity group profile as well, the brand perceptions, the equity access, assets that are in there, and the current category codes, which I just talked about, and the current pack diagnostics. So you see here on the right side, that's from My Behaviorally. That's our predictive engine that we put designs in, and it gives us this score. So it's based on all that research, all those years of research that we've done in the past. We put this into our AI, and this My Behaviorally platform allows us to tell where we are today and I've just pulled a few attributes here. There's a total of 23. One is the PackPower score. That one number score is the top score. And then below it is the attributes we want to look into. And you see here, I've used an example. This is real data. This is generated a current design for a deodorant product here next to Secret Outlast. So we see here that Secret Outlast is doing, it's all green, except for we've got some leeway at the bottom there with some progress where we're doing okay. But against this current, we are looking at where we are today. And of course, we want to do better tomorrow. So we want to move up that curve. Now, from there, we give that opportunity map, and this becomes your behavioral blueprint before design even begins.
I love that little infographic map.
Can we go back?
Um, I would often I had designers if they were working immersely on a project. just write down the three things you're trying to solve. What are like because clients have 100, there's that 7-page brief, and that would represent it. Print it out, literally put it next to your monitor, and make sure you're always going back to the core of what you're trying to solve. Because designers occasionally can get carried away and chase squirrels, and this will keep you not chasing squirrels.
Chasing squirrels. That's very funny. Um, all right, so we'll get that. And then there's an opportunity for us to do a workshop with the team and come up with what we're going to do next is in the design concept. So the next phase is going into design. We'll generate these designs using AI, which is a generative tool. And usually this is where I get asked, okay, what generative AI tools are you using? And we are AI agnostic, is like how I like to call it, because we're using as many as we can get our hands on, we will use, because each of them are progressing so fast. They're good at, each one is good at something else. So one might be really good at editing text once we get it. Another might be good at understanding our behaviorally design levers and applying them. So we are agnostic. We're using the generative tools that are out there today, but no worries. They're all enterprise subscriptions. So we protect our data and we keep that in-house. It's not getting out there into the world. So we have the opportunity to do a workshop with client stakeholders and design agencies, and we can help workshop that. Or we can go right into a debrief and understand which directions we want to explore. And from there, we create generative AI mood boards. And those mood boards are done from this territory paragraph that we come up with. So where do we want to go with? We learned before, and I'll show you an example after, but where do we want to go from here? What territory do we want to explore? And then we have the AI take that and generate it for us. And we can do this type of work, again, keeping in mind the behaviorally 4S background. You'll see this territory board is broken down by our 4S's. So that's intentional. That's because we want to make this a disciplined practice for design, especially for when we get to the design agency part, like when a designer actually gets the examples of our designs that we've come up with, we'll have the ability to say what is triggering what. So from there, we had those mood boards. And then we have the opportunity to generate a lot of designs. And for me, this is really fun. And we generate a whole bunch of slews of directions of where this can go. But then we have those behavioral design levers. So it's just not to create, I mean, if you're doing the TikTok versions and creating the plushie, I don't know if anybody's done that recently, but you can create a lot of fun things with your own pictures on AI. I totally recommend the plushie one. It's totally adorable, but they're fun. And here we are doing it not for fun. It is disciplined across our behavioral design levers. And that's the fun of it. We're giving you our behaviorally design levers here with it. Again, it's based on our 4S framework here. And Scott, you were so helpful in doing this and working with us on this. I'll let you take it from here.
So it's been a really fun collaboration with Cheryl and the team and Studio B. The design levers, and I think I've intellectualized the design process now for 40 years, trying to understand how shoppers think and how designers think and how to make those connect together better. And when Cheryl and I started collaborating on these design levers, it was very intuitive because in my mind, these all are representative of how design needs to think and experiment. So if you think about how you stand out. There's many ways of standing out. You have to stand out in the environment, and you can use, like Cheryl's story, you can use contrast. It sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's more about disrupting the environment in a positive way. The challenge with disruption is humans all have different ways of processing disruption. Some people are very early adopters and they love disruption, so they're attracted to it and they pick it up fast. And then a lot of people are on autopilot and they just want to go get in the store, get out of the store, find what they know. So if you change an existing brand and go from white to black, that could be a massive problem. If you're creating a new brand, that might work for you. So these design levers are quite. I'll take you briefly through them, and then we'll go through them in more depth. But obviously, the be seen is super important. Not seen, obviously not sold. But the second one is being recognizable. So if you go too far, innovation can actually be a problem. If you innovate too much, then the shoppers don't recognize what they're looking for. You have to balance newness. Even in design that we did with industrial design and product design, we tried to find norms, behavioral norms that people intuitively know, understand, they don't even think about, and leverage those norms to create familiarity so that then the new pieces can stand out and they don't have to process so much information. So this balance is really, really important between innovation, standing out, and then how do you do all of that in a way that helps people take the next step, which is okay, now I'm going to move a little bit closer because the scene part is probably happening at a bigger distance. You're observing the entire category, you're trying to scan everything quickly and figure out what you want to shop. So we know that shoppers deselect before they select. So that's the first level of deselection. At shoppable, obviously, you have to be restrained on how many messages you put on the front of a package or whatever the primary selling surface is of a package. Don't assume it's always the front. Make sure you're always in context. But the hierarchy, there's some classic hierarchies that work for most brands, most CPG brands, but sometimes that hierarchy can be interrupted or innovated based on the power of the brand. How much do people understand the brand gives you some more liberty. So the hierarchy has to be clear, but it's not just copy paste hierarchy. Messaging, the simplicity of messaging can't be overstated. Screaming claims 100 different ways is not really helpful. Picking one, making sure that it really is addressing what the key uniqueness and point of difference of the product is. And I know I'm taking too much time. We're going to go into more detail, but and I'll just stop on the next one. Color as navigation is honestly one of my favorite ones. Color is not decoration. Um, Color and shape. Humans process color and shape like 50,000 times faster than any other communication tool, faster than an image or a photograph, obviously faster than language that they have to read. So the power of color and shape, and we've experimented over the years with just playing with color and shape and putting it on shelf to see what creates interruption before you put any communications on it to see how you can get seen and move toward shoppability. Obviously, seductive is the really fun part of design for a lot of designers, especially when you're doing prestige or luxury work, using visuals to be emotive so you don't have to put 100 words on it. And then there's parts of design in these levers, like number 9, signaling value. That could be something for a dollar store, a brand that is signaling a value, and that's a combination of the pack design and the structure. And if we're going the other way into the prestige world, the touch, the feel, the shape, the texture, all of those things are really critical to understand. At the end of the day, then how do you reduce complexity, make sure the benefit comes across, and provide confidence for the shopper to actually create the conversion? So these 12 levers are probably 100 years of collective knowledge between behaviorally and work that I've done to understand what design needs to pay attention to and how to push and pull on these levers based on the needs of the brand.
Yeah. Yeah. And these levers are in our generative AI tool. We have created agents in each of the AI platforms that we have trained and also can prompt. So we do have prompts. These are prompts that are prompt starters. I like just like thought starters, but just like really good qualitative researchers that we have here that ask questions. We have a discussion guide. We have the questions we ask, but we always the follow-up probing is very dynamic, and so is follow-up prompting. But these are the ones that get us started. If we notice that in the diagnostic scores from my behaviorally that we've got to pull up on visibility, we'll pull on these levers and start working with that to generate designs and then test it with my behaviorally and see if we're moving up that bell curve. And then,
It's so interesting that design will have those tools to break these levers apart because I think design intuitively understands what to do with these different levers because we work with them all day long. But sometimes we don't get that definitive an understanding, which is why I say you have to listen really carefully. This is a great method of using, an AI tool to listen for us and to make sure that we're hearing clearly.
yeah. What I like with AI is that it's also like your coworker who, okay, what if you think about it this way? It's just another way to think. And again, strategic thinking and creative judgment, that's up to the human behind the prompting. And that's never going to be I don't think replaceable. So these are prompts and an idea prompts that we can put in based on the where the areas of need and see again here seductive like you spoke about before, understanding how to use these prompts to trigger feelings. And that's where also what comes in is the information that we've collected about that human profile. If we don't have the human profile, especially of the opportunity group, we don't understand what her visual or his visual environment is about. How are we ever going to connect with visual with as you have here with number 8, visuals are faster than words. How do we resonate so quickly? How do we get into that consideration set with a certain aesthetic? So the seductive one, again, very exciting. Again, very challenging because it's not as functional as visibility or even shoppability with variant navigation. And then, of course, we have the selected, making sure that if anything, we want the shopper to walk away more confident about their purchase decision without any doubt. That's what gets into carts is confidence. And it's like, yes, I'm just buying bottled water. I'm confident it's bottled water. No, that you've confidently made that choice in the water that you want. There's so many water brands out there. And have you given them the trust? Have you neutralized all the barriers that it's the right pH? It's spring water. It's from wherever it needs to be to it and has added whatever's to it to make them feel that they've got value in that purchase decision.
Farrell, I also think that how all of these levers um, are used is also very important to, I'll say, the price, how much the investment of the purchase is going to be, right? So a bottle of water, you've got to trust the efficacy of it, you got to trust the cleanliness of it, but it's a $2 purchase or $6 if you were to show.
Mhm.
If you're buying a Ring doorbell, it's a $300 purchase. And so the lever you pull on might be different based on the value proposition of what you're trying to get out of people's pockets.
Yeah, that level of involvement in the purchase decision is part of that factor. Absolutely. All right. And then we get to our predict stage. So we've designed all the designs and we get the opportunity to put it into our My Behaviorally platform, which has the PackPower Score. And again, that PackPower Score delivers a single clear prediction of in-market performance. And it's based on 50 years of normative data, machine learning, and computer vision, and real sales data. So before you invest in any money or time downstream, you'll know exactly where you stand because you have these scores. Have we moved the needle? Yes or no? Very early on, before you're locked into any specific direction. And in addition to that PackPower score, we have a total of 22 attributes, plus the 23rd one is the PackPower score. So, and this is the key to unlocking success. That again, the framework is here, the seen, shoppable, seductive, selected, and then we understand those attributes. And then how do we move those levers? So we see here modern. I'm just going to use this as the example. Modern is at a 20. That obviously is the lowest score. If we want to be modern, if that's part of the strategic way we decided to move, how do we move that up? So let's go into our seductive behaviorally design levers and pull on them. What are the modern cues? What did she feel was modern when we looked at her environment and understood where that shopper was coming from? What feels modern to her? So we could use that and generate ideas based on the inputs. So it's like all of us, the researchers, designers, brand stakeholders. With this tool, we now have a crystal ball into the future. We get to see how our designs would perform in market. And we can tell quickly which concept has the most potential by that one number score. And we also have predictive eye tracking. So again, unseen is unsold. Where are they spending time? Do they even see it? We get to see that with the predictive eye tracking. And then also how effective we are against the competition. So how we would do if we stacked up against the competition in the category. And then, of course, where we can improve and design and iterate. So let's see it in action. And going back to that example, that human eyes example that we saw earlier here, where we had the profile, this blueprint, this one pager, we understand that in this scenario, Dioma we want them to own this scent. So we go in with fine fragrance. So they want these intentional smell. So that's what's coming out of the research, that our opportunity group, along with our loyalists, they're using this brand because she craves fragrance. She gets sweat defense. That's why we're here in the category. That's cost of entry. And then when we look at how the design for the current looks against the competitor, we see that there's lots of things to improve. So we take that and we, again, think about the learnings that come from, she craves fragrance, sweat defenses, table stakes. And we also learn that she wants skin safety, don't want it to be irritating. And that leading with fragrance will be a way in. We know that this category is very promiscuous about scent. So people are switching because of that. That's one of the ways to get somebody to switch. So these were the learnings from that. We also know that the category is flooded with performance claims, and it's, 24 hours this, 48 hours, 72 hours, and then, 72 hours. Wow. We have all of these performance claims that are happening here, and she's, overwhelmed with that. And her aesthetic world, we noticed from doing our homework assignment, and having her give us what is in her environment today. We notice that there's minimalism there, but there's creep of codes, emergent codes of maximalism. So what does that mean? What do we do with that? And how we can be seductive there. And then for this particular brand, from the drawings that came up would be this rose gold cap. That's how we cue recognition. That's how they find it on shelf, is that cap color. And then we come up with those design territories for this Dioma brand. Again, a written one first, based on that blueprint, and that gets us to the generating the pack designs. And then those pack designs, once we get through all that messy part of putting everything into the prediction engine, what's rising to the top, we can isolate for each of these territories what's doing, better and where is it taking us. And again, this is generative AI, our behaviorally design levers, plus that human insight that we got up front. And then we see that first column here is the current, how we did against and here what I've done is in the platform, you can select which image you want to reference against. So for me, equality, looking at numbers is great, but the way this monitor works with red, greens, very easy for me, equality to understand and dig in on at first glance. So I'm benchmarking against the current secret product that is in the category. And from here, we can see which designs are doing better or worse. And again, there's 23 of these metrics, and I've pulled up a few of them, but we see here that the clean luxury is doing a really good job at feeling high quality. And it's doing a great job with trust. And in the beginning, we saw the current being very low on trust. And trust was a place that secret, competitively, maybe we can sneak in there with trust. So that's really doing a good job. So did it improve the score? Did we get to 100 on the PackPower score? No, didn't get there, but we are definitely getting to a place where we were much better than when we started. And moving a pack design by 10 points is tremendous. And that could move quintiles, which again is sales impact. We're talking about that engineering for sales impact. And at the end of the day, will this work in market? Will this get picked up more than others? And this is where the prediction engine is so helpful. Okay, and then we also have some other case studies where we don't want to, again, we talked about refreshing with recognition. We have those for you guys to look at. I'm just looking at the time now. So yeah, we with this particular case, we ran into the flavored water where they wanted to change everything on the pack because they were excited. They want to innovate. They want to move the needle. Of course they did. But when we put it on the shelf, it was completely unfindable. We got lost in the sauce. Eventually, if we had them inspect after the shopping process, could they find it? Yes, but that's not the exercise. The exercise is being recognizable, not losing those people you've worked so hard to keep in your brand, coming back and bring them along. So that was the issue, is that and that's where our client said, we thought we needed to really innovate, shake things up, but what we really needed to do was bring the shopper along with us. So that was the outcome of the brand, is that, we didn't change everything. We went back to thinking about how we can honor those recognition codes. And another case study where the challenge was to spark trial, not trade down. Now, this is a delicate balance where if you introduce a smaller pack because you want to invite in, again, trial, but not replacement. So if you have a smaller version at a smaller price, we want them to walk away with the big bottle and the little bottle for trial, the tried and true and something new, but mitigate that risk that would come in at paying the higher price point. So that was the idea. But how do we do that? How do we encourage incremental purchase and not cannibalism? So understanding what that balance was, we decoded and interpreted with our human eyes. We predicted with confidence those winning routes to protect the full size value proposition and elevate that scent curiosity there. So using this in this particular one, again, we are not talking about just making things bigger or smaller. We're talking about very strategic impact with pack design. And that's why we need to have all of these ingredients to get us, again, to a better place quicker on the path development journey. So the integration of human insights, generative design, and our predictive AI is essential to improving pack performance. And yes, there's ways to engage with us about this, where you can come to us if you're very much you need to start, you haven't started yet, you have no designs, then we can start there. Or if you're early on in the process and have some initial design concepts to test and iterate, we can put that into the mix as well. And you just maybe you want a very robust approach where you're bringing all your stakeholders, designers alike, along with insights into this mix, and you want a more robust approach. We can do that and be your trusted partner, and again do workshops as well in between human eyes and design to help with this process of finding and defining a design direction to go into. Okay. And meet our team. So I'm very proud of the people behind it. So let me introduce you to our global in-house qualitative team. These are your packaging and shopper experts who have worked across dozens of countries and research environments. We have that experience. Together, we bring more than 60 years dedicated to packaging and shopper research. And this is exclusive in this space. We're not doing general qual. We have observed and recorded over 18 million shopper behaviors. It's a lot. And we support the world's biggest brands. And our work has been recognized in quirks, and awards have been given by the Insights Association as well. So very proud of the team that we have here that understands package design and has been through the mix, just like Scott had mentioned, the experience of seeing what works and what doesn't by many companies. So there you have it. We have a methodology that generates designs that humanizes the input and that are predicted to move the actual needle. And then our flexible, collaborative approach to this, and a proven team that knows how to integrate these disciplines. So AI democratizes the creative generation, and Studio B has operationalized it with human insight and proprietary prediction to drive packaging performance. And that's decision precision, and that's what behaviorally stands for. So I want to thank you, Scott, for your time and opinions and all of your input today. I always learn a lot when I get to spend time with you. So thank you for your participation here. And I look forward to any questions. I think we were both talkers, so it was nice talking with you. I do have some questions that came in, and we did talk about that, and one other that was about our social, how we do some review mining, which you wrote it down for me. Thank you. So what's the method with our social review mining approach? And that is, it's manual, actually. We don't, there are those platforms that are out there, but just like qualitative, we specifically look for love and pain points. We want to get to benefits and barriers there. So we're gathering 100 mentions across the appropriate platform. So depending on what the brand is it TikTok, or is this a Reddit type of way where we're going to cull that information? But again, across different social platforms, as well as review sites and retailers like Amazon and Sephora and Ulta. Okay. All right, it looks like we're out of time. And I, again, thank you all for joining us today. It was my pleasure being here. Thank you, Scott, and thank you to the Behaviorally team for pulling all of this together and marketing. So really appreciate it. If you are interested, just know that we are sending this recording out as well. So you'll have that for your records as well and can share it with, I hope you share it with your teams. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.